Good afternoon. This is Noreen at the Healthy Peaceful Podcast. My guest today is Dilek Koksal. Dilek has been a student of Ayurveda since 2015. She is currently a full-time teaching assistant at Maharishi University in the Masters of Ayurveda program, and she is just about to graduate from that same program with a Masters of Ayurveda. Dilek also works in the software field, and she has degrees in computer science, finance, and computing and accounting. Wow. She founded a dance company in San Diego, teaching Middle Eastern dance and adult ballet. She became introduced to yoga when she turned to it to help with dance injuries and to promote the longevity of her dance career. She is currently enrolled in an advanced training program in Ayurvedic herbology, essentially plant medicine. Welcome, Dilek, to the Healthy Peaceful Podcast. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll just explain the background. You're in the process of moving, and it's not actually a construction zone. You're just in transition.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
A framed basement.
Awesome. Now, Dilek, we'll start with perhaps a difficult topic, but I saw on your website that you lost several family members to diabetes. And last year, you also lost your dad, who had dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, but he passed away due to COVID complications. And I'm wondering for our audience, if you could tell us a little bit about how your personal family experience with health impacted the way you see Ayurveda.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my mom's side had a lot of complications due to diabetes, all three of them. My mother, my own mother, and my maternal grandmother, and my maternal grandfather. My grandfather passed away the last. So I lost my grandmother first, and then my mother, and then my grandpa. So the complications from the diabetes is really complicated. And when you can control the diabetes, then you can prevent probably some of those complications, and the person can live longer. And they may not actually have a lot of the major issues that diabetes cause. So unfortunately, Ayurveda is not, as is becoming popular also in Turkey, along with the natural medicine, and Turkey being part of the, broken down from the Ottoman Empire. Natural medicine is used in the households, but Ayurveda per se is not one of the practice natural medicine in Turkey. There are practitioners, but it's very few, handful amount of people doing that. So if my family members found Ayurvedic protocols at that time, it would have probably helped them tremendously. But instead, they went to modern medicine, which in a lot of cases, modern medicine have really good medications for certain diseases. And obviously, when the disease becomes a chronic condition, sometimes there's not much you can do except go to modern medicine. You're reversing some of those problems becomes very difficult, even with Ayurveda, but it's not doable. So it is. So because of the medication, so their diabetes, type of diabetes that they were not depending on the what's that called, the injections. So
right, insulin.
I'm sorry. What they had is more controllable with the
medication. like type 2 diabetes. Yeah. Okay.
So what I have seen is definitely complications of the medications, and then so one medication caused one problem, then they take another medication to fix that problem, and then goes on and on and on. It's a chain reaction. So the kidneys and the liver, and toxicity becomes just tremendous. And then at the end, all three of them had complications of the failure of the kidneys. So,
Sure.
and as you can imagine, with Ayurveda, person taken as a whole, and treatments are given from many different directions, and not just internal, external. You go through, couple weeks of amapachana, which is get rid of those toxins, and then you reset your body, and then you go through panchakarma treatments, where customized treatments for each person based on your dosha imbalances, so pacifications, and sweating therapies and oilation therapies, and so unique for that aspect. And so when you start cleaning your body through the process step by step, and then you go through the big panchakarma treatments, and then you start taking your medications, so now your body is ready for those medications. And if something like this, these kind of protocols were given to a diabetic patients, I think, diabetes is probably one of those simpler disorders to be able to treat.
Sure, sure. Well, it sounds like in terms of your direct family members and in terms of their conditions, which are obviously with dementia and diabetes are both chronic conditions, that part of the way that it's influenced you with Ayurveda is really just being more in tune with a holistic approach that considers the whole body, as Ayurveda does. And also these cleansing protocols in Ayurveda, including the amapachana, ama being toxins in the body. So that certainly can be done at home, and panchakarma treatments, which is a seasonal detoxification that Ayurveda recommends for really prevention and the accumulation of toxins. So that's awesome. And I know with your dad, who passed away I believe in 2020, I'm wondering, in terms of grief, how Ayurveda has helped you grieve his loss.
Yeah, so his condition was with Alzheimer. You don't notice. It's not like a pain that comes and goes, or it's like a joint pain. You take your dad to a doctor and get it diagnosed. So there are some tests done right now for Alzheimer. They can actually tell the brain, the cells, shrinking. And so at that time, maybe he was aggressive and maybe angry, and certain behaviors were not maybe so normal. But Alzheimer is a very sneaky disease. I call it very sneaky because it just kind of like MS.
Yeah, it's insidious. It just just starts to permeate every aspect of your life.
Very silent also, and it just comes, and then you see some symptoms later on, and once you start actually seeing those symptoms, it's almost too late. And there's no there are some studies done right now. There's really no medicine out there. There are some medications that prevents maybe the shrinkage and controlling the nervous system imbalance, but it's not completely curing.
Right.
So
there's no particular Western medicine that is a cure-all for Alzheimer's. There's certainly some protocols like the Bredesen protocol. That sort of
Correct. Yeah. So he was taken towards the end when finally he was diagnosed, because he was asking questions and same question over and over, and it doesn't make sense. And so symptoms started slowly, and every time he traveled, the disorientation made it worse. And so when he got to the point, it was too late. And then he had to be taken care of by professionals, because he was at the point he was
it was that far advanced. In terms of how Ayurveda looks at grief,
Right.
and you coming through your own personal experience with grief. How would
So
you say that Ayurveda helped you?
yeah, so basically his condition was slow and
Yeah,
progressing, and we know that that was happening. So
yeah,
in his condition, I was preparing myself for the worst.
right.
Even, I mean, the my sadness was I wasn't able to help him. I wasn't
Of
able.
course.
I tried many different. I brought him brahmi. I brought him a bunch of oils to try. I brought him many different things. I brought it to Turkey, but not only he was not interested in taking them, he didn't think that he had problems.
Sure.
So my sadness was not being able to help him, but I was preparing myself for the worst.
Okay.
But when COVID hit the facility he was staying, and he couldn't recover from that, and being away from him and not being able to be there and holding his hand in his last moments was really difficult for me. And we couldn't do a funeral ceremony for him because COVID patients at that time were washed with a special solution, and
Yeah, that was very disruptive for many families
yeah,
with
and he's actually buried in a separate cemetery that was made only for COVID patients.
wow,
I
okay.
don't know how many other countries did that, but Turkey did that, and
All right.
humble. So the grief that I went through, well, from the Ayurveda point of view, is when you try to live the Ayurvedic lifestyle, you are in balance. So your nervous system is in balance. Um, you are almost aligned with this cosmic energy, and so
Mhm.
you're ready for the worst, you are ready for the best, and you don't go so much ups and downs. So it's very
Right.
balanced lifestyle, and you eat well, you sleep well, you take care of yourself, your immune system is strong so you don't get sick constantly. And but on top of that, TM is something that um, we recommend, we give that as a protocol to our clients. And also I studied that, and Maharishi University is consciousness-based university, so everybody practices TM. And so transcendental meditation is my go-to. And
Yeah, yeah, no doubt in terms of you
it
know,
does something to, it's just something to the mind, that that when you are deep in that meditative state, that when you tap to that unified field, it really brings up some that vital energy throughout your, it just flows that throughout your body, to your veins and through your nervous system, and is really interesting and unique. And I have experienced that after, I mean, after many decision making processes that really helped me to just to be able to make the decisions easier, the process goes smoother. I mean, even in the transition that I'm in right now, and it's really,
yeah, I think you bring up a wonderful point that certainly transcendental meditation it really increases resilience
mhm.
and the ability to flow with the circumstances, regardless of how challenging they can be. It doesn't mean that they're not challenging, but I think there is a greater ability to um, just deal with the situation as it is. So
Yeah,
thank you
you're,
for
it
that.
aligns you with the universe, and it aligns your mindset. And so like I said, you don't go through those ups and downs, that tremendous changes that really affects you. You don't, depression, anxiety, anger. It's been 3 years since I started, and
Mm.
it has amazing effects on me. And
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's it's
Mhm.
wonderful to share that with our audience.
So
There's no
if
doubt.
my father would have practiced it, maybe earlier years, and if he lived, I actually wrote a paper, a small paper about that. in one of my assignments, if he lived that more sattvic lifestyle, he would have probably had Alzheimer such earlier age. He was still 84, but it's way like maybe 10, 15 years before that.
Yeah, yeah. And the sattvic lifestyle is essentially really living life in balance, you know.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to go to Nepal and, live in the mountains to live sattvic life, and you can still create that in the
You
modern.
could be in balance no matter where you are. So
Exactly.
awesome. Also on your website, you talked about karma and the karma we carry from our ancestors. And I'm wondering how this has impacted you personally as far as the role you will play in Ayurveda in the future. And I specifically, I think you talked about your interest in Ayurvedic herbology, plant medicine.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of a complicated question, but more about karma, ancestors, and how is this going to impact you currently and in the future in terms of your role in Ayurveda?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Karma has a lot of aspects to me. I always ask the Vajras, explain to me what's our genetic disposition when it comes to certain disorders. For example, there are some disorders that comes really from the genetics, like a sickle cell anemia type of disease.
Sure. And even those disorders that it's not quite a genetic disorder, but there may be weaknesses in the body. I believe they call it kave gunya, and proclivity towards certain diseases.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so.
If you're born with that kind of a weakness, you may not develop it. Based on how you live your life in the future, you may not develop that condition, but you are prone to it because you have that weakness, and depends on how you create that. You really need to build your immune system if you have that kind of condition. So how it is described in not only in Tony Nader's book, One Unbounded
One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness, I believe.
The new book, but also is described in the Vedic science as, so karma is definitely is part of us. So karma is not something that is just made up. There's definitely karma, and this genetic disposition is one thing, but then karma is another thing. In my opinion, how I look at it, we bring that karma from, if you look at it that way, this might be a very controversial subject, but if you bring your karma from the ancestors, you can still create the balance and come over that. That's how I look at it. And then
right. So what you're indicating is, even though you come into this life with the karma carrying the karma of your ancestors,
yes,
you have the ability to overcome that.
Exactly. So how you look at it, Dr. Tanya Nader explains, I think there's one example. It's so interesting that you put an elephant and then you put a box in front of it. When you look, there's a hole. You look at it, so you see only part of the elephant, and it might be a different perception for everybody, right? And so that perception, how you look at it, is what you see. If you create that, of course, this is different protocols, the lifestyle and all that Ayurveda recommends, how you should live your life. If you create that window that you're looking at, that tiny little piece that you're seeing, now it will become limitless. So that limitless, unbounded consciousness will create that perception that it doesn't matter you have that weakness. It doesn't matter you have that disability or any type of problems that you're created with, either back from the previous life of your ancestors, or happened during the birth, and then some sort of weakness that caused that bigger issue, it will not matter. It will only make you stronger, and you will be able to overcome. So this is a lot of the even the Asian thoughts, and other type of spiritual uh, teachings also give us
Sure.
um, similar type of lessons, right? So
Sure.
don't just dwell on your weaknesses, don't dwell on your limitations. This is
Mhm.
how you look at it. So that's another thing, how TM creates that, because um, you start your TM practice, but then there are advanced techniques. So once you get into the advanced, I'm not there yet, but once you get to a more advanced level of meditating, then you will be a person that walking on the street, seeing all these things happening, and all these craziness, and all the news and wars, and difficulties, and money, the politics and stock market. You will be like a walking meditative person that living in that world. So that is the ultimate, is the God's consciousness, and that's
Sure, absolutely.
the
Now,
ultimate.
yeah, I believe I read on your website regarding your family karma being, I believe you said farmers, and that was bringing you to your interest in Ayurvedic plant medicine and
Yeah,
herbology.
I know that was your question, right?
That's okay. That's all right. Yeah.
Wait,
So I was wondering about how that has impacted you, and um, how intuitively you have an intuitive knowing that this is your direction.
right. Yeah. I mean, somewhere inside me, I always know that Ayurveda is my dharma, even though I
Mhm.
discovered it in the later years of my life. Um, but I always look back. I said, well, I lived in California in a big property, and I grow my own vegetables. I always enjoyed growing things, and from a seed to becoming an actual vegetable that I can eat. That process is fascinating, and it gave me so much satisfaction and fulfillment. So I was drawn to this farm life, and animals, and the whole cosmic cycle. um, you know Animals living on that earth, we use their manure to um, enrich the soil, and then we grow things there, and there's a fish in the tank, and you use that water because it's full of nitrogen to water your plants, and then they grow because the nitrogen makes it so green. And so that whole process is really fascinating, and it's very meditative hobby, um, or some
Absolutely.
is an
Yeah.
opinion. So my father's family, they were farmers. They're from south of Turkey. They grow cotton, so it's very well known. And my father later on, so my father worked for his for my grandpa's farm, and there were quite acreage actually. Um, I don't know how many of the siblings worked, but he would work in the morning and then go to school, and so he lived that type of life, and he always loved growing things. And we have a summer house that he grow little, peppers and vegetables, tomatoes,
Hmm.
that. And so, and then later on, my father actually retired, and he owned orchards, citrus orchards. So we would have these cases of oranges, grapefruits, lemons.
Oh,
Uh,
beautiful, beautiful.
so he made actually good money from that, and uh, then the weather, the other reasons got affected, and he sold it. But he always loved that life. So I think I carried some part of that, um, and when I look back, I say, wow, this must have something to do with that, because I grew up in the city, and but I always had fascination for nature, and the wildlife, and animals, and growing things like that. So um, So the herbal medicine is one of them. My grandma, and I'm sure in other cultures that there are grandmas and mothers that come with the remedies, right? So you're
Oh,
sick,
sure, sure.
take this, take that. I'll make you a tea. So everybody has some sort of natural medicine in their
Hmm.
families. In India,
Absolutely.
of course, in India they use not only Ayurveda but also they have their own ways of doing things. But herbal medicine is really interesting because not only I take different type of herbs myself to balance some of my imbalances, but also um, it is a very difficult subject to study. Not only you need to know the ins and outs of the herb, the plant that you're studying, but you cannot just go to a store, buy ashwagandha or turmeric, start using it. So
Yeah,
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 I
say
think
more.
it's a really cool subject to study and fascinating to be able to learn what plants can
Sure.
do. But also, like I said, it's very challenging, very difficult. And
Yeah.
you can't just take turmeric, because you have inflammation. You really need to know your imbalance and then how you gonna combine that herb or spice.
Yeah, yeah. How is it going to be combined with food, or how is it going to be, what's
When
going to
to
be
take
the
it, yeah.
right? So
When to take it.
there's really a lot to it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, so much. So I chose a subject to study. So I'm going to. I started already my studying 1 year Dravya Guna study with a teacher from India, but also um, I do a little bit studying on my own with the Western herbs with different
Hmm.
teachers, different books, um,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm really interested in that. Being able to make when I first started studying Ayurveda, I made myself these cough pills, Eladivati, and then little like all sorts of spices in it. It's really sharp, really strong. Um, so it was an interesting process, and then
Yeah,
a
it's
few other.
awesome. Well,
But
I look forward to your continuing study and how you and your continuing contribution in that regard.
yes,
So, um, tell me about, you've studied with many teachers,
hmm
and let's see, can you tell me who the Ayurvedic teachers who have been the most significant to you in your Ayurvedic journey?
oh, there are quite a bit. I started
And,
with.
and if you want to just briefly indicate the reason why that particular teacher is important to you.
hmm So I started with Monica and Atul. So they had was called San Diego College of Ayurveda in San Diego. That's
Sure.
how it
Okay.
started.
Yeah.
And they were very practical, hands-on. So I learned
Right.
quite a bit from them, and they were very. Atul is amazing, like Sanskrit, and he studied in ashrams, and
Are
he's in
they still there in San Diego?
Texas right now.
In Texas. Okay.
Texas, but he's an engineer, and she's an Ayurvedic teacher, and um, so they're. I mean, I learned quite a bit from them, and
Sure.
I continued one. Um, I think maybe it was more than a year program with them. And we did in person and also online. And the school had different teachers as well. So I studied with the different teachers, a few classes here and there. Um, but it was really nice, and food was amazing. We would do all the gatherings, and then I switched to California College of Ayurveda,
Mm-hmm.
and there weren't live classes at that time, so I didn't have a specific teacher. So I studied with them a little bit. Then I gave break. I didn't. I think I can't remember what I was doing at that time, but I gave a break from
You took a break from study.
Ayurveda. Yeah, and I studied more yoga, and I was involved in dance a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then during that time, I started little bit of Western herbology, and I did studies with KP Khalsa. So
Yeah.
he's amazing.
I've heard of him, and I have friends who've studied with him as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
He is really good.
And he teaches Western herbology, or is it Western herbology?
Ayurveda, and
Okay,
he does
Ayurveda. Okay.
we did the advanced clinical, we did
Right.
case
Okay.
studies with a small group of us, and
Yeah.
it was online. He lives in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
And then I did do more self-study in Western herbs. Then I decided it was time for me to go back to Ayurveda and really do this. I mean, seriously, get into it, finish it, start practicing.
Right.
And at that time, I started looking at the schools in the NAMA website, and Maharishi University caught my attention, and especially because it's giving a degree. That was important for me, and I think that was the reason I chose and started studying in 2019 August at MIU. So Vajya Manohar is our main teacher for our cohort. So we're really lucky to have him. He is
Absolutely.
He's amazing. So I learned a lot from him. Roxana was our TA in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She is amazing. Dr. Paul, oh, I love his classes. He is so great. He's very clear, very concise, very calm, and I love him as a teacher.
Absolutely.
We have different TAs as well, and they're
Mhm.
all great, and they give us presentations in different subjects. Anna is my TA, and she has a lot of experience with different multimodalities.
Mm.
Uh, so she has a lot of knowledge, and she grades
Awesome.
my papers, and I learn so much from her. So she,
Well, it sounds like you've had some amazing teachers, and you said you're also studying with, what is it? It's called Arya Ayurveda as well, the
yeah,
herbology
so
program.
Amrita Atale,
Okay.
Dr.
Mhm.
Amrita has been also one of my teachers. I
Mm.
studied with her in different subjects. So this year we started Dravya Guna. I'm one of her. This is the first time she's offering. So I'm with a small group. We do
I
online.
see. So this is a new program for her.
Yes, and
Okay. Awesome. Well, aren't you fortunate to be part of that?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
She
awesome.
always messages me, and I have a new course. Were you interested in? But she does everything based on the classical text. Um,
Okay.
so everything we learn from the classical text,
Mhm.
and uh, she gives us a lot of information about herbs and how they're taken, and what is this herb. Maybe a sweet herb, but then the aftertaste is different. So it based on the properties of the herb. Uh,
Sure.
we are learning different systems, and based on those, what kind of taste that we
Mhm.
need to give a priority. And
Right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, like I said, you're very fortunate to have such amazing teachers. There's no doubt in your Ayurvedic journey. Um, you've mentioned in the course of our interview and also elsewhere that your Dharma brought you to Ayurveda to teach and to heal others. Can you speak more about how you found your Dharma and how you know it's really your Dharma? What you think Dharma is, and any tips for others who want to find their Dharma. So you've indicated that Ayurveda, you have this intuitive knowing that Ayurveda is your Dharma. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to that? You know, how Ayurveda found you, how you know it's your Dharma, and any tips for others who are looking for their purpose, their Dharma.
yeah, it's very. I think it just came in to my life. So how Ayurveda came in my life is through yoga. So once I started studying yoga and practicing yoga, um, I probably just heard of Ayurveda, and because I'm interested in herbs, because I probably have this life from the father, being a farmer and interested in the nature and the properties of healing of the nature. And um, I always had I always had interest in herbs. I always had interest in natural healing and not taking medications until you really have to. Um, I think since I was small, I had that interest. And, but of course, you know, you go make a peppermint tea for your belly ache or take a charcoal tablet, you have gas or something like. Sometimes that stays at the minimum level. You don't really think of, oh, actually I'm going to study this and I'm become a Ayurvedic doctor.
Yeah, you just use it for your personal
Yeah.
balance and just your personal knowledge.
Correct.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I really felt in my belly, like deep inside, that this is something I really want to experience and I really want to learn. And I was just drawn to it.
Okay.
I
Well,
know.
that's well. Actually, I love what you just said, because what you're indicating is that you had this visceral feeling that it was in your body,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
that this was the direction that you were to go in.
Right. Exactly. Because
And
I mean, like I tried to dance and I become a professional dancer and I made money from that. It made me happy. And um, uh, that was something that I was, entertaining that idea first as a hobby. And then it became really serious. But I had never thought that I would actually make that as a career and keep going. With Ayurveda is so different because I think something to do with not only being able to help people. So I believe that my dharma is that I came to this world being able to find the satisfaction of um, that feeling of being able to help people and how you can create that is through Ayurveda. I didn't go to medical school.
yeah,
I was a doctor.
your medium, your tools for helping people is through Ayurveda.
Yeah, I think naturally
So,
I am that kind of a person. I do enjoy helping and solving other people's problems, but when it comes to health, is very important to me. Maybe because I seen what my family went through with all these complications and losing them at the young age really affected me. I'm not sure, but I know that, and of course now looking at my natal chart from Jyotish and Western astrology, um, they tell me, I mean, they do tell me that I was born to do this. And it's just
right.
almost like a
So,
proof of, like,
yeah,
proof.
it's a instead of leading, it's not that's not necessarily driving you, but it's confirming what you're already. It's
Exactly.
confirming your own inner knowing.
Yes,
So,
correct.
okay. And
So,
so when you think about dharma, I think about it as responsibility, your life's purpose. How
mhm.
about other people out there who they're not sure what their life's purpose is?
Yeah. So
They're not sure what their dharma is. What advice would you have for them?
So I think dharma in a way is your dream, is your
Right. Sure.
what you really want to do, what you really think that you're good at, or you want to be good at, or you know Ayurveda is not an easy subject to study. It's very complicated, and you really need to put effort, just like any other occupation. You need to be good at it in order to
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is we're talking about someone's health. So any dream needs to be worked on. Like you need
Yeah.
to plan it and you need to create.
Sure.
But
Okay.
if you look at it in a way, well, I want to make money from this. I know I can make lots of money from this. That's not what the Dharma is to me. That's more,
Mm,
you have this dream, you have this vision, you can see yourself to be doing that, and then
mm,
you start working on it because once you love something, you start doing it, and you will be able to make money from that. You'll be able to.
Yeah. No, that's, that's an excellent, I love what you just said, because it's like, you don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Exactly.
The money is there to support, the money will be there to support your dharma.
Right. Right.
If your dharma is coming from the heart, it's authentic, and there's a genuine desire to be of service.
Yeah, exactly.
In your own unique way.
Correct.
And then the money is just something to support that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I also love what you said about that, if you do want to undertake any, whether it's studying Ayurveda, becoming an Ayurvedic practitioner, or whatever your dream is, that you do need to plan, and you do need to take steps in that direction. It's not like a dream on a whim and then just open your hands. So those are that's really good advice. I appreciate that.
I mean, artists, painters, is one thing. They have this natural talent, but sometimes they just it happens to a lot of us. We just put off our dreams and our talent to one side because we need to make money, and we go work for corporations or things like that, like we don't even feel satisfied.
Sure. Well, actually, I want to say something about that word talent, which that's a great word, because I think talent many times, I mean, there's definitely going to be a certain amount of innate ability, but many times it's just the daily practice of your craft that results in talent, dedication, commitment, and practice. So
yeah, I recommend people to practice Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Oh yeah, I love the Artist's Way. Yeah.
So that's important, because
do you do the morning pages?
I did it for quite a few times. I don't do it now, but I did it throughout my dance career. But that's for any occupation. It doesn't have to be for artists. But there's also Twyla Tarp. So these are all these were all my assignment books from my dance teacher, who's also my I don't dance anymore. I don't I mean, not right now, but I don't go to workshops anymore. But my teacher is in Berkeley. Suhaila Salimpur is very famous, and she takes it very seriously. Her dance training school is amazing. So she actually uses books to open up your creativity and your.
That's great.
And so Twyla Tarp is another one. Twyla Tarp says
sure. And what was the name of your teacher's dance school?
Oh, so her name is Suhaila, Suhaila.
Okay.
Her last name is a Persian last name, Salimpur, Salimpur. So
and she's in Berkeley.
Yes, she had a huge impact on me as a person, and also in my dance. And many other girls that have been studying with her made amazing artistry skills. But she really develops that creativity in you, and she forms you, she molds you to that person that you want to become.
I love that. It's much more than a dance teacher. She sounds like a fabulous mentor.
Yes, she is. She's amazing. And I really love her. So these books really opened up my visions, actually, and gives you discipline. So Twyla Tarp says that, you really need to get your job done. It doesn't matter. So my assignment due on Tuesday, I have to do it somehow. It doesn't have to be perfect. So it's like creating choreography for a dancer is important, but you cannot just, keep working on it to become perfect, because it may not be the perfect piece that you want. You need to get it done.
I think that's great, because in getting it done, you're going to live with some imperfection. but what you're doing by getting it done is you're producing something
Exactly. Yeah.
versus just staying in this place of, well, I can't produce because it's not quite perfect.
Right.
And so
Don't
yeah,
procrastinate.
I mean,
Just do it and then get your job done. And then the next piece will be better and you will
and
have the
then just
habit.
absolutely,
Like me
that
writing
works in
paper.
so many fields,
Yeah. Like me writing
absolutely.
paper. Yeah, that was my weakness, my
Yeah,
weakness. But with my TA's challenges on my papers and my um, uh, the assignments that MIU has every week. Oh, you
yeah.
know that. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
so my writing. Oh my gosh, I think it just improved so much. So took my writing
Well,
now.
you develop the skill over time,
Yeah, so it's kind
definitely.
of like that. So you when you
Yeah.
work on your um you know your dharma, you may know, you may not know. Sometimes it's just the timing too. Like the
Oh yeah.
that really maybe also this brings me back to TM again. So with the TM,
Right.
you will open up this almost like a this this oh how to describe it um the space, this cosmic space
Right.
that will
Right. The meditation creates some spaciousness so that you can stop being so attached to how you think things should be,
but it will that's so
and
that
and other things will start to unfold.
exactly. So it will happen. So it will bring you what you might be thinking about, becoming a nurse, let's say. Then you really don't have the funds, or you don't have the time, or you have a family, something going on that you can't really do it, but you really wanting, you think that you should do it, and you really think that this is for you. So what TM will bring, that opportunity, that ability to create that in a way. So
Yeah.
the universe
Yeah.
actually will prepare your time and will prepare the opportunity for you to get into that. But I'm saying maybe nursing was something you wanted to do, but maybe now universe in a way will warn you and bring you something else. That
Yeah, yeah,
opportunity,
exactly.
maybe
So
that's really your dharma.
yeah,
So
that's beautiful. So I think what you're saying is that for somebody who's really exploring, what is my purpose? What's my life's work? What's my life's purpose? What's my responsibility on the planet?
mhm.
Is developing a daily meditation practice is one of the best ways to really gain some clarity um, in your direction, as well as some of these other tools like the artist way and
Yeah, but
things
the
that are
word to
really
use, unfold. So that's, I think, the key word for me. I would describe it how I would describe it is just
that
it will
the
unfold. Something will
right that
come.
it's going to unfold, and it's the allowing it to unfold that I think is the most beautiful.
Yeah, you are, because you're ready, you're prepared, you created that, and now it's time for the universe will bring that to you. Um, but like I said, we live on this earth and we need to make things happen. And in order for this to come to fruition, then fruition, yeah, that's the
Yep,
word.
fruition. Yep,
Um,
yep.
then you need to really work on it. So you need
Yeah, you can't
to,
just sit back and say, okay,
yeah,
everything
yeah,
show
exactly.
up. So
So then your
awesome.
responsibility to work on it.
There has to be some action. So
So to me, that's how I look at it. That's how I believe it. I'm very tuned with my feelings, how I bring certain things in my life. I can be very patient and very adaptable to my environment, but if something is really changing me to become a person that I don't want to be, then I need to eliminate this from my life. So I
mhm.
I need to, since I'm more in tune with my spirituality and I am always in the search of this was that Islam that I want to practice because that's my birth religion, or was this Buddhism or Taoism or this and that? Is to me is more like I know out there is something that is for me, and Ayurveda was for me, and I need to work on it, study it, perfect it, and then start helping people. So money is in the really like in the back of the list. Um, so if
Yeah,
anybody,
money is a tool to support your dharma.
yes, yes.
It's not the
Hopefully,
purpose, but it has to be there in order to support your work. And provided you're doing your dharma and you're coming from your authentic self and being of utmost service, the money will flow. So
yeah,
um,
exactly.
great. Yeah, and you have a website called Warrior Goddess Ayurveda. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to highlight on that website for our audience?
Yeah, the reason I chose that name, warrior goddess, is the deity Durga.
Oh,
That's
okay. Yeah,
the
of course, Durga.
yeah, with the the sword.
Sure. Yeah.
So uh, that's representing the strength. To me, is representing the strength and love and caring and spirituality and just being that that vital person on this earth, just walking and spreading um, that healing in many ways.
Beautiful.
It doesn't have to be just, you know, medicine kind of healing, but medicinal kind of healing, like herbs and things like that, but more also spiritual, psychological, mental health. And
Of course, of
so
course.
me, that's how I.
So you're bringing in the energy, you're bringing in those energy, the divine energy of Durga,
Mhm.
and that powerful strength and the
Yeah,
goddess energy of goddess Durga.
right. And it's also a little bit feminine too, in
Of
a way.
course, yeah,
Being
absolutely.
I really want to, in my practice, I would like to, and I mentioned this to you, I think before my PhD, um, I like to do more women that going through menopause and how their hormonal imbalances may be causing the beginning of Alzheimer. Um,
Hmm.
so that's one of my interests. And so having this Durga type of energy in my practice, I think really
That
it's
that's
important.
awesome. Do you have any particular chants that you like to do for Durga, or any other ways that you like to bring that Durga energy into your life?
Um, I think not well. To me, don't be just too mm, flexibility. I think
Mhm.
adaptability to your environment,
Right,
flexibility, and non-discriminative way of looking
right,
at people, and everybody's condition is different. And in Ayurveda, we believe that nervous system brings a lot of the issues. So being able to be flexible and work people like that is, I think, important.
right. So really meeting people where they are and
Yes.
working with them as they are.
Yeah,
Um,
just be open and very,
sure.
what I learned from my Vajas, and also how I feel is that connection to the individual is going to be my essence of my practice. Um, I don't have 15 minutes to listen to this person. I have hour and a half probably, and they can get back to me. They can reach me at other times, and so I will give them opportunities to be able to feel that how I can connect with them. And I think when you connect with your patients, then you create that environment to not only to heal them with that love and caring and respect, but also for them to be able to open up to you and tell you so much more about what you want to know. Um, in Ayurveda, we have the questions that we ask our clients. Well, how's your relationship status? Are you having any stress? Well, I mean, the person, if you make that connection, they will give you so much more than you even ask for. You will be like, uh-huh, that that's what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a wonderful point because really it's the heart of the healer, and certainly Vajramanahar will, in his lectures, talks about this, that it's your consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
it's your essence, what you're bringing. It's your love, your care, and attention that will, and creating that healing space for the client, which really starts the process. So,
Oh yeah, and
yeah, so
the pulse reading is not just you're actually checking the pulse, the imbalances, what's they really telling you, what kind of gunas there, qualities of cold or hot or hard. I mean, all sort of things that you can tell from the pulse. But when you touch that person,
mm,
is where you make the connection. And if the practitioner is not in tune in within, with their self, then there's not much you can offer to that person. Really, it's just only.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, if you're not, again, I think Vajramanahar says, if he uses the word svashta, if you're not established in being,
Yes,
and sama, balanced,
drama. Yeah,
that it's very challenging to, I don't know if yeah, that those are definitely like foundational for the practitioner.
yeah. It is not
And
easy to be a Ayurvedic practitioner because you need to really live that sattvic life, and you need to create that perfect balance, and you need to be able to really be open, spiritually, and you need to be open so you have that TM in your daily life to create that, but also sleeping well so you're balanced with your in your nervous system. um, then you're open, so you're open, you have this, um, you have this ability to be able to read really that person, and you be able to make the connection with that person. When you touch them, you're actually healing them too, in a way. um,
yeah.
and one time I actually did a pulse reading. This was way in the beginning. I was learning how to do pulse.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about this classmate, female, what was going on in her life. So this was one of the unique experiences I had. I don't think I had another one like that. So while I was closed my eyes and reading the pulse, I had a vision that she was in a forest, like a dark forest, lost. So that was, I mean, I had goosebumps when I told her, that. And she was
Right.
having major vata imbalances, and then also she was going through relationship issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was very,
Wow, wow. Yeah, so you were, you had an intuitive knowing in reading her pulse. That's true.
yeah.
Uh,
In my other type of meditations that I have done in the past, I always had visions. I always
yeah.
had um, certain type of visions,
Mm-hmm.
for that. But they're they're unique. You're not sleeping. I mean, you're not dreaming. You're awake. You're meditating, and you see these visions. Really, to me, they mean something. So,
Well, that's important. I mean, everything, it's important to give them attention,
mhm.
and decide, and to explore them. What do they mean? So yeah,
So
and
basically,
not just blatantly disregard them.
right, exactly. No, no, yeah.
So we don't want to do
I,
that.
I personally wouldn't. But my point is basically the practitioner really needs to live that type of life and be really open and always.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that in order to really be effective, there has to be a certain grounding quality that the practitioner has to continually work on. So,
Right.
well, we're getting to time, Dilek, and I want to be respectful of your time. I'd like to conclude with a couple of rapid fire questions, which you can, if you don't mind answering with one sentence or two.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right.
Surprising.
Your greatest teacher of Ayurveda?
Meditation.
That's beautiful. Your favorite book on Ayurveda?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Well, I mean, we all go back to Charak Samhita, so it's the classic.
Okay. So going back to the source text.
Oh yeah.
Of the Charaka Samhita. Absolutely awesome. What you wished for in your life that you were grateful did not happen?
That I blocked my desires to study Ayurveda. That
Okay.
I'm glad, that didn't happen, and my path took me somewhere else instead. That brought me back.
Awesome. Awesome. Your top Ayurvedic tip for the summer season?
Let's see, there are quite a few. Don't stay in the sun too long.
Okay.
That create that pitta, because that's the time that increasing, and now you're increasing even more. So I love sun tanning. I love to get that bronze chocolate color, but it's pretty dangerous. The heat really affect you.
Sure.
And
so the Ayurvedic principle, like increases like.
Exactly. And as always, doesn't matter in the summer season, eating the biggest meal in the lunchtime is super important, and very light dinner will actually help you to lose weight, but also being able to digest the food properly for the morning elimination. And when you digest your food properly, that becomes aharasa, the nutrition that will flow through your cells, your tissues, the shrotas and dhatus will eventually create the ojas, the bliss, and that glow of the vitality in your immune system. So
wow, that's wonderful. So midday meal, because that will allow proper digestion.
Correct.
And give you that wonderful ahara rasa, which is the nutritive fluid, which
Correct.
will flow to all of your other tissues and create ojas, that vitality, that beautiful state of health.
I mean, that's another subject we can talk about, how
we could do a whole podcast on that, right?
Yeah, that's a very very long digestion process that modern medicine probably doesn't even look at that. I mean, it's amazing in Ayurveda how digestion works. And then my other tip would be just prepare yourself to, cool with the cooling food. I mean, if you have a vata imbalance vikriti person, then you don't want to cool further, obviously. But if you are type of person, especially the pitta prakriti and pitta vikriti, you really need to balance it. So in the summertime, you need to have cooling food like cucumbers, coconuts, and rice is a nice sweet taste food and is easier to digest. And that could be part of the main meal. And just enough water throughout the day. And we don't drink ice. We don't recommend ice drinks just because it's super hot. That doesn't matter, because ice actually affects your digestion, and taking fluids with your food also affects the digestion, because you don't want to, you want to help the stomach and all the other organs to bring up that the balance. When you have so much fluid, it's not really helping.
Right. Right.
Just have enough cooling food and cooling spices. Staying away from fermented food, pickles, and hot, spicy, and alcohol is very difficult on the body. And alcohol is very fermented, and as we know, it brings the pitta increase. And the toxins, just stay in the nature. Um, walking in the early mornings, fresh air.
Right. So I think for the summer season, cool is the operative word.
Yes.
Except when it comes to cool, but not necessarily too many cold, icy drinks.
Yeah, because that's the opposite quality, right? So there's the similar,
of course,
opposite.
Right.
So you want to bring down the heat in
Okay.
your body by cool, but not ice.
Right. Awesome.
And
Awesome.
of ice cream, we know that. So nighttime, if you want to really have ice cream, maybe in the afternoon, and
Sure.
ice cream like maybe saffron, ice cream, pistachio might be nice, but yeah, nuts are still heavier. Rose,
Sure. Yeah.
maybe even fresh like gelato, probably better than ice cream in my opinion. I love gelato.
Right. Well, you bring a good point. Ice cream is heavy, and
Kapha increases.
so
the
yeah. So, but if you're going to have it, then have it earlier in the day, and yeah.
And milk, no milk with meals. Obviously, we know that. Don't mix milk. Incompatible foods, very important.
And
Better.
yeah, and milk is one of those things where lots of foods can be incompatible with dairy. So yeah. Awesome. So the first thing you do when you get out of bed in the morning?
I pet my dogs. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I have a morning routine.
That's good for ojas.
Oh yes, they make me happy. I scrape my tongue. Let's see. My order usually is scrape my tongue. Then I use sesame oil for gandusha, the oil pulling.
Right.
So while I'm doing the oil pulling, I wash my face, put my creams, and I buy my creams, oils from Mapi or Oshadi, or sometimes different natural products I use. And then brush teeth, stretches. I don't do my yoga necessarily in the morning, but at least some sort of movements. And I dress warm usually. I'm type of person gets cold easily, but I love also layering. So I love to keep my body warm. I think this is my one of my secret that I don't get sick often, because I love to keep my body warm.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a nice sweater on right now.
Yeah, it's a little chilly here, but let's see. TM meditation, and then I have a very, very light breakfast. Depends. I do also intermittent fasting, so I skip breakfast sometimes. Depends on how heavy my dinner was.
Of course, yeah. That's so. You're really eating for how you feel that day.
Yes, but some days I feel really, really hungry, and I hear my stomach, so I eat a tiny little, either like a stew fruit if I made it, or like a rice puff.
So a very light breakfast.
Yeah, light breakfast, and then. But I have I take some herbs. So one of the things that I take in an empty stomach is Brahmi ghee. Brahmi ghee is very nourishing for the brain.
Yes, yes.
So I take that with the warm water. So I have a water routine as well. and
Yeah.
then breakfast, and I have some other herbs I take after breakfast. Um, that's my pretty much my morning. Then
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your
I,
Ayurvedic morning
yeah,
routine.
I wake up early, so I have enough time to do all that before work starts.
Okay. Awesome. Before the sunrise.
Sunrise is quite early now, so I wake up typically maybe 6 o'clock or a little
Okay.
6.
All
But
right.
when I move to Fairfield, I'm hoping that I will, because my entrance is facing east. There's
You'll be getting the light, the morning light.
yeah, so I will go up upstairs deck, and then I'll watch the sunrise, and maybe
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, there's that transition time of the day,
Mhm.
sunrise, sunset. That's awesome. Good for you.
I'm
Good for
looking
you.
forward to
Oh,
to
absolutely. Um, okay. Healthy habits are easy to start, but hard to maintain. And Ayurveda is all about healthy habits. How do you maintain healthy habits in your life?
oh, back again. So meditation that creates that balance. And when I know that if I'm doing, um, I'm not the perfect person, I don't live the perfect sattvic life necessarily, but I know when I don't do it.
Mm,
I'm aware
okay.
of it, and I correct that.
Right.
Uh, so the happy habit to me is be positive
Mm,
and smile to
mm.
people, smile at people when you, I mean, when you see people, just be pleasant.
Of
Uh,
course.
and um, I
Well, I
personally, I mean,
go ahead.
for the healthy eating habits, if we are talking about eating habits, then I do, because I'm Turkish and I grew up in the Turkish households, we eat lots of vegetables. So to me, eating balanced food with good grains and vegetables, and I'm not vegetarian, but I try to limit the intake of the protein from the animal sources.
Right. You eat a small amount. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do eat fish mostly, but vegetables really make me happy. I don't know what it
Right.
is. When I
Well,
cook,
vegetables are the key to success.
I just love them. And fat. I love fat. I love heavy cream. I love coconut cream. I love butter. I love ghee. I know if the vegan people, listening to this, they're not going to agree with me, but I know that those
Well,
are
I think that even vegans, they're not necessarily anti-fat. They won't go along with the ghee, but we do need. There's a misconception that fat isn't. We need it for our brain health as well as
for the whole body. Yeah, you need
lots of other things. So,
that
and
balance.
besides, you have to make the vegetables taste good.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, well,
But anyway, so
awesome.
that's one of my healthy. I think that was your question, right?
Yeah, the well, actually, you really I think it was useful for our audience to hear that, everybody can start a healthy habit, but it's hard to maintain. But what
Mhm.
you've indicated is going back to your practice of transcendental meditation,
Mhm.
cultivating that awareness will bring you back into. We're not going to be perfect. We're all going to do
Mhm.
this or that,
Right.
but
Just
it's
be aware.
can we bring ourselves back?
Yeah, just be
That's
aware.
really the key.
And don't
So
don't grab bag of chips every day because you don't have anything else to eat. I mean, spending the little time and cooking that food with love and healing energy will actually nourish your body. So looking
mhm.
at it that way, it's a discipline. It's really a discipline, and
Absolutely.
really that meditative mind, um, it really helps that you don't force it. You don't force yourself
Yeah.
to discipline. It just comes naturally.
It starts um, the desire for the unhealthy habits starts to drop away over time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
They do.
So, well, Dilek, thank you so much. This was an awesome interview. I so enjoyed it. where is the best place for our audience to contact you? I know I have your website and I will include that, but just state your website again.
Warrior Goddess Ayurveda.com.
Okay. Yep.
I
And
don't
how
know.
about social media handles?
Yeah, I don't check the emails often with the Ayurveda website.
Okay.
I need to link it to my other email. But in social media, I have the Warrior Goddess Facebook page. I think it's under Warrior Goddess. It used to be Warrior Goddess Farm when I lived in California, but I think now is under Warrior Goddess Ayurveda.
Okay.
And then my email is probably my personal email that I use, D Koksal, my first initial and last name. And then there's number 619, which was the area code of San Diego I lived in, and at gmail.com.
Okay. And that's D as in Dilek, Koksal, Koksal 619 at gmail.com.
Correct. Yeah,
Great.
that's the best. Just email.
Okay.
And yeah, and I try to, it's been really hectic lately, you know, because of the homeworks and full-time job, and there's a lot going on. Once I graduate, I will be adding all my articles or my assignments prepared into my website. And then I'll be changing the layout a little bit, and preparing for the practice, for the clinical practice. And then also the Facebook page, I will be updating more.
That's great. Well, make sure when you move into your new home, you take pictures of the sunrise from your deck.
Oh, I love taking pictures.
And post them on your website or Facebook page.
You're in Fairfield.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, if you don't mind hanging for a moment, but thank you so much. I so appreciate you today.